So we have these microphones. It's called the Rodecaster. You can hear it. It's like a deep, like resonance. It's pretty cool. We have it. It's the one thing we spent money on here. We didn't spend money on the set, obviously, but it makes everyone's voice really sound as good as it can sound, except for our guest.
I was going to say, if you can make me sound like a grown man, then that's all I ask.
I kept saying Brian Kiley. I didn't call him by his last name and his first name, but I said, Brian, I pull that microphone and wait till you hear the sound. And he goes, I don't know. It's not working for me. I'm still insecure. So is that a thing that you grew up with, that you never liked the sound of your voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I identify with that.
Yeah. And when I first started doing stand-up in the old days, remember, you'd have to have cassette tapes and a tape recorder and listen to your sets. Yeah. And it was excruciating.
The excruciating thing that you don't have, though, is a Boston accent. That, to me, if I had that, if I was like Lenny Clark or one of those guys, I'd be killing myself.
It's gotten much better. It was like when
you used to have one?
Oh, yeah.
You were one of those Boston guys, Don Gavin and Sweeney.
I don't know if I was ever as bad as them, but I will say this, when I did 8 shows in Israel in 2015, and they do the Q&A after, and every show someone would go, you're from Boston, right?
They knew you're from Boston?
Yes, just from my accent.
I can hardly hear it.
Well, it's gotten much better. Like when I watch old tapes and things, it's like, oh boy.
My golf partner, we played in this like tournament. It lasted for 6 months. We actually won, but I was thinking about losing because I had to go another month with this guy with the Boston accent. It was killing me.
Is he a comic?
No, he's not a comic. He's just
he's
in the tech business, but oh my God, I take a separate card half the time. I can't stand, but we won.
When I get tired, it slips out. You can hear it.
Yeah, or when you go back to your town.
Oh my God,
it's the worst.
Yes, it's funny you said Lenny Clark, because one time he stopped by my office. He was on the set. He was on the lot at Warner Brothers, and he stopped by, and the two of us started talking a minute, and the guy I shared an office with was like, what happened to you? It's like, well, Lenny Clark came in, and I had to match up with him.
You just called him Lenny Clark.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I had to match his energy and his.
What part of Boston did you grow up in?
So I grew up just outside. I grew up in a suburb called Newton, Mass, which is, I
know Newton,
You do?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Very, very wealthy, on the wealthy side. You're Irish, but it's very
Irish.
Jewish.
Yes. And it was a nice neighborhood. And
it was a mix.
It was a mix, yeah.
Now, did you grow up a decent amount of money with your parents?
No, not. I mean, we were on we lived in a nice town, but we weren't well off in our town,
right?
And with our 5 kids, and
that's already an income difficulty for the parents.
Absolutely. So no, I mean, we kind of whenever people say Newton, whatever, but it's like no, we really weren't. We weren't that.
Well, I don't know if you were like. What was it like being? Did you grow up with any shame, for instance? And,
sure, of course.
Yeah. Especially, of course. Why do you think we became a comedian?
Absolutely. Sure.
What were your shame points? Not to bring them up and rub them in, but I mean, I have a feeling it would be being around wealthy people was one of mine.
Yes, I definitely feel insecure about that. The other thing for me was, my younger brother was smarter than me from day one. And he ended up going to Harvard, and he's a judge now, and he was very, but it was always that thing of, I felt very self-conscious that my little brother was smarter than me from an early age.
Interesting.
And there are even things now that'll come up. There'll be some factual thing that will come up, and I'll mention it in conversation, and I'll say, whatever. And I'll think, Dan said that to me when he was like 12, and it's stuck in my head, you know what I mean?
So you were ahead of him how many years at school?
Well, 2 years, so I was like 22 months older than him.
Oh, that's Irish twins, just about.
Yes, and he was.
You are Irish.
He was taller than me from the time I was like in the 6th grade, and he was in the 4th grade.
That's so not right.
No, and everyone thought he was older, and he was smart.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
And it's usually like, when brothers come through, like I have a bunch of sons, and go, your older brother.
Yes.
You was probably reversed.
It was reversed.
And are you related to your younger brother?
So I felt very self-conscious about that.
That's interesting. Yeah. But I mean, what about like family? Did your family fit in? I mean, did you feel like, it's big Irish, I guess, Catholic family?
Yes.
Not in a predominantly Catholic area though, so that can also be a source of
it's funny.
feeling different.
All my friends were Jewish growing up.
Yeah.
And I kind of hung out with the nerdy Jewish kids to some extent. And
which is why you talk the way you do.
I do. Well, it's funny,
if you grew up with Don Gavin, you go, come on, you cocksucker.
Yeah. And so my my dad was in World War II, and my parents grew up during the Depression, and they were 10 or 15 years older than a lot of my friends' parents.
Right.
So it was a different
Well, if he's
mindset.
a World War II vet,
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
that's an older parent.
Yeah.
And your mom also gave birth, or he just married somebody much younger?
No, she was 2 years younger. So, they were both, by the time I came along, my older sister is 9.5 years older.
Mm-hmm.
My older brother is 7 years older. And then there's a 7-year gap. And then me and my little brother and my little sister. So.
Oh, you have a little sister too.
Yes,
wow.
yes, yeah.
Dad was rocking it late life.
We don't need to delve into that.
I didn't mean rocking it that way, like rocking the bed. Your dad. I'm not going to talk like that.
I don't know what's happening.
But I'm an older dad actually. I have an 8-year-old, and it's the biggest fear I have, which they didn't have in that generation, was they were just an older dad. But I'm like, I go to pick her up at school, and they ask her if I'm the grandfather, which is the worst feeling in the world. Your dad probably never heard it, because all parents just looked the same back then.
Right.
Like you could be 20 years apart and you all look the same. It's such a different perspective now. Do you have kids?
I do.
How many do you have?
I've got 2 kids.
What ages?
26 and 24.
Oh, okay. So you were in the middle there. You're not a dusty old dad. We have a club, so you can't be in it. But so did you raise your kids to be, what kind of kids did you raise? Did you raise them to be sports-oriented, reading-oriented, well-rounded?
Yeah, I always felt like if my kid had a book or a ball in their hand, then I was happy.
A book or a ball?
Yeah. So reading was a big thing, and sports was a big thing too. Yeah.
You didn't make them into Red Sox fans living in Los Angeles, did you?
Well, we were actually living in New York as Red Sox fans. So
that's even worse.
But when 2003 happened and the Red Sox folded at the end there, I was like, what have I done? They're crying. It was terrible. And then when they won it in 2004, they loved to be able to go to school and gloat to their friends.
Yeah.
So
I did the same thing with my Philadelphia kids.
Sure.
All raised in L.A. to be Philadelphia fans, and the shame that they had for a while. But 2008, that was our time.
Absolutely, that was awesome.
Now, are you a big Red Sox fan?
I am. Mm-hmm.
You're going to love this story.
All right.
Now, you know that I really believe in the healing powers of laughter, which we're going to discuss, and I think that I know that it shifts our consciousness, it gets rid of nerves and so on. It's a wonderful thing. So I'll tell you a story real quickly. So I was friends with Phil Jackson, and they were in last place. The Lakers and Kobe and Shaq, remember, they were fighting. Mm-hmm. I said, send them to a comedy show. So they had a night off. They were in last place. He made it mandatory. He's very Zen-like. They had to go to this to this comedy show together at the Punchline at Sacramento on the night off.
The two of them, or
all of them, the whole team.
The whole team.
Whole team goes. They had the time of their lives. They won 17 to the next 20, and they won the championship.
Wow.
So it was from that bonding, which laughter does. If you and I are laughing together, there's nothing else going on in the world. We're just connected in that way, right? It's joy, it's happiness, which we should all be. So going back to the Red Sox, I'm friends with Johnny Damon, a long time. I brought my buddy from Brockton to see the Red Sox play the Angels. And he's there, go get him, Johnny. I hate them Yankees. Head suckers, the cocksuckers, whatever.
Sure.
So he's go get him, Johnny. Got us the tickets. So now they go to Boston, plays the Yankees, and it was bad. You remember that?
Sure.
Really bad.
Yeah,
Johnny. So then Chuck calls me up. He goes, Shoemaker, get your laughing healing crap worth of your boy Damon. He can't hit the broad side of a barn. This is his best buddy who got him tickets 2 weeks ago. I go, you're right. And I sent him. He already had my DVD. I go, Johnny, play it in the clubhouse. He played it for the clubhouse. They all laughed. My new DVD. They all laughed their ass off. They won. They then swept the Yankees. Johnny had 7 RBI on the game 7 against the Yankees, and they swept the Cardinals for the World Series championship.
Sure.
First time in 86 years.
Yes.
Wasn't about the piano of Babe Ruth and
right.
The Himalayas and all this kind of. They did all sorts of stuff. Bucky Dent and Bill Buckner. It wasn't about that. It was about the energy of everyone in Boston was so fear-filled. It laughed. And Johnny called my radio show the next day. I said, what are you doing after you win the World Series? I'm drunk on a golf course in Boston. He goes, and I said, what's the difference? He goes, there's a lot of great teams. We had the most fun. There's a lot of great teams.
Yes.
The ones who have fun, which I'm happy about my 76ers now that they got Harden. They're laughing and having a great time and killing it. 3 in a row. We'll see what happens. But that's my point.
Well, Damon famously, remember he was clipping his nails.
Mm-hmm.
The club was before the game.
Yeah.
I guess it was game 7.
Yeah.
And they were shocked at how loose they were.
Yes.
Well, thank you then if you were involved in that.
I was involved.
That was a big moment in my life, believe me, after all those years.
It was, I mean, when I watched it, like I didn't go, but I watched it at home. I felt so great for my friend Johnny and all of Boston. You could see like when they were losing, they were going to get swept.
Sure.
They panned to the faces.
Oh,
do you remember
yeah.
Do you remember how it was in Boston?
God, yes.
So angry and uptight and tense.
Well, we went
you
through
can't play as
year after
fluidly
year.
that way.
Absolutely.
Because something's going to go wrong. The other shoe is going to drop, these cocksuckers.
Absolutely.
The other shoe is going to drop. And you know what? Since that time, Boston has turned everything around. The sports are the best. That's what did it. Them winning the World Series now, Bruins and Celtics and and of course the Patriots. It's ridiculous, but the energy shifted.
Absolutely.
And it came from laughter.
Well, thank you.
And you've been in the laughter business a long time.
I have, yeah.
Would you say you're primarily a writer?
Yes. I mean, if you talk to my accountant, he's going to say yes. But you know what? I did stand up all the way. I mean,
I know. Yeah.
I really have. So
kept yourself fresh. No matter the writing gigs, I'm going to go get a spot.
And yes, and people were kind of like, well, why would you go? You know, the people I work with, especially now during the day, they're like, why are you off so-and-so doing this? But it's like, I'm a comic, you know.
And what is it that drives you to get onto a stage? Like, and obviously it's off hours because you're working Conan, right?
Well, I was with Conan for 27 years.
No.
Yes.
Way.
Yes. So
when I worked with you in New York, you were with Conan when he was in New York.
That's right. That's right. And then, so that ended last year. And then I got a job writing for Ellen. So I'm on that right now.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So that ends in May. So
permanently, she's going. She's retiring,
going off
right?
The air. Yeah.
Wow. What is the difference between, if you can say it, the difference between working for Conan and working for Ellen? They're completely different energies.
Well, it's not so much about the two of them. It's more about writing for late night versus writing for daytime.
Good point.
And I keep pitching stuff in the meetings, and they go, "We can't do that." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And it seems so innocuous, you know. And that would have been tame you know what I mean?
Sure.
And they're like, "Oh, hey, come on." So
it's so daytime, and it's such a different audience.
Such a different audience.
I don't like the term housewives, but that's what it's the old school housewives that they're appealing to.
Watching and
kids during the day.
Yes. So that's that
whole different standards and practices team comes in for you.
Absolutely.
So you feel handcuffed a little bit, but it also works another muscle.
It does. I mean, it gets you different, and we really don't do anything topical with Ellen. With Conan, we're writing for that day.
It's called Evergreen.
Absolutely. And
you could see this years from now and be the same sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I like to write Evergreen, as a matter of fact. You don't, though. You like current events.
I do for, what I'll always like from my act to talk about personal things.
Right.
And so I kind of gave Conan I'll hit the topical stuff for him, and I'll keep the personal stuff for me.
In your act,
in my act, because I didn't want to have the thing of, do I keep this joke for me or give it to you, that kind of thing. So, but now with Ellen, there are, like I wrote a monologue for her about salad bars. It's like things like that.
Yeah,
those are the topics. So it's different.
Does she do them? I haven't seen her show in a while. She does a monologue. I know she dances. I love the way she dances. Yes. Very sexy, by the way.
Oh well.
For me,
I've got some bad news for you.
She doesn't dance anymore?
No. Well, she doesn't dance anymore. Yes.
She doesn't?
She doesn't. She hired a guy to be the...
Whoa, wait a minute.
Yes.
What do you mean, hired a guy?
She has a sidekick.
Well, I know him.
That guy, Twitch.
Twitch, yeah, but...
He's a professional dancer. And he dances for her. Like, she'll come out and do a little monologue, and then Twitch will come out and dance, and then she sits down and does a comedy.
Oh, yes. No, Ellen.
But Twitch is an amazing dancer.
That doesn't matter, though. An amazing dancer I don't want to see. I want to see, to me, it's sexy because it's a vulnerability to it. I'm not a professional. Yes. I'm a comedian. I love that. I thought it was so appealing when she would do that. I loved her, the way she would dance. I use her moves, by the way, whenever I dance.
Well, she stopped doing it a couple of years.
I didn't know that.
Well, I didn't know anything till I got there. So
I haven't watched in a while. My friend is on there, a guy I mentored, John Dorenbos. I don't know if you've seen him yet.
I don't know. I don't know anybody.
You haven't been there very long, right?
Yeah, I started in August. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So. I thought he'd be on. He's a magician, and he played in the NFL. He won.
He's a magician who played in the NFL?
Yeah, he's a long snapper, and I met him years ago, and he's got this unbelievable story. Ellen loves him. She had him on all the time. I thought he was still doing it.
She might still have had him. I usually don't watch the guests, to be honest. So she may have had him on.
Oh, that's all right. He's probably been there every other day, even know it.
No, that's
because you're concentrating on the monologue.
Absolutely, you're writing your thing, and the same thing with Conan. A lot of times you watch the comedy, see how that goes, and then you're working for the next day or whatever.
That's right. You're checking out the newspaper for if there was such thing as newspapers anymore.
Yeah, Conan used to give me a hard time because he'd say something about the next day about the interview with so and so, and he'd go, "Oh, that's right, you don't watch the show."
That's right.
It's like, yeah, I'm trying to write for you for the next
What's your
day.
position called at both shows?
Well, with Conan, I was a monologue writer, and here I'm just a writer.
Now, we just brought it up on the computer. That's John Dorenbos.
Oh, well, good for him.
Yeah, he was a long snapper.
Which is a great gig.
It's unbelievable.
Right? Unbelievable.
15 years he lasted in the NFL. He played for my Eagles, but I met him many years ago, and I just got a kick out of him. And he has an amazing story. Talking about personal stories, his mom was murdered by his father.
Oh, my God.
Like this suburban life, and then suddenly put her in a trunk and, whatever. Horrible story. And he went into foster care, and to deal with his grief, he became a master magician. He'll be on our show here. And so I ended up mentoring him. Here's another thing. He sent fake tapes to get a full ride scholarship as a linebacker to University of Texas, El Paso. So he was there under a whole fraud thing. But anyway, he ended up learning how to long snap, 15 years in the NFL. Then I said, man, you're a great magician. I called up Brian Gumple. We put him on Real Sports. And he ends up third in America's Got Talent. And the rest is history. He's on Ellen all the time.
Oh, my God.
She loves John.
I'm sure. Oh,
yeah, he's got that terrible, tragic story, but he has overcome it, and now his life is magic.
Incredible.
But by the way, there's the thing with comedians, many of them are sarcastic. You're not one of them. That's why you're here, by the way. I've always dug your energy. You're such a good guy, and I always liked you. We don't know each other that well. It's been 100 years since we worked together. But it is that energy that you don't have. I can ask you this question. Magicians. What do you think of magicians?
A lot of comedians are like, "Oh, magician."
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
You're not
like
that way.
No. I'm not like that. I don't think I would. Well, I guess I have been to the Magic Castle.
Have you? Yeah.
I have.
I take guests there all the time.
But I'm fine.
But you're not turned. It's not like one of your things.
No. I know certain comics.
I love magic.
Yes, I think the ones that are really good at. I love the sleight of hand.
The sleight of hand is absolutely, it's fascinating to me, and something that I can't do is what I'm impressed with.
Well, I'm constantly impressed. But there was a magician at Comedy Magic for some reason when I was first there.
Brian Gillis.
No, his name was Danny something, but they would always put him on before me, and his act was silent. So I'd be behind the curtain waiting to go on next, and you're doing a short set, so
sure.
And he would do this thing where he would snap and his shirt change. But I didn't see his act like the first 10 times. I'm just behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And I just hear the crowd going, "Ooh," but there's no talking. You're going, "What's going on out there?"
Yeah.
And then I finally saw him, and he would do these things where he would snap his fingers, and the color of his shirt would change, and all this kind of stuff like that. But it was a silent.
He's amazing.
Act.
See, to me, that's just fascinating.
Oh, absolutely.
You wonder how they're doing it.
Yeah.
And by the way, you could watch them every night and still not know. That's when you know you're really good.
I actually don't like it when someone ruins it on me and says, "Oh, they do it like this."
I know Penn and Teller do that. It's a little disappointing.
It's like, "Oh, you took the fun out of it for me." I like being amazed.
Yeah, Penn and Teller are that type anyway. You know what I mean? They're like that type of guy. They won't be on my show. They're not into it lightening up. It's like, really? You can't let that slide. Let us really believe it's magic. Sure. I've actually had times where I go, "That was magic. You're not going to tell me anything else." I think that's what goes on sometimes in the world. It's a big magic trick.
What do you mean?
But how propaganda, how that takes us in directions of look over here, look over here, look over here.
Sure. Oh, yes.
The distractions, the deflections.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I left. I'm not in a party anymore. I left my left. I left them. I had to leave them because I saw their fraud too.
Right.
I always saw it with the right, evangelicals, always saw it with them. I didn't get the hypocrisies and all that kind of stuff. And now the left, I'm going, oh, wait a minute. There's some doves in their sleeves,
Right.
And it's very disappointing to me, but I do think it's a big magic show out there. And that's when I am cynical towards magic.
Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely.
I don't like the fraud that goes on. I'm really, where do you find do you have like any spiritual program? Do you have any, how do you live your life? How do you raise your kids besides obviously, education and stuff what about the inspirational stuff? I mean, what kind of patterning do you have? Like you're known as a good guy. Like you're a good guy. So that's like your spirituality, right? You could call that God, your goodness, or whatever you want. But I mean, do you have anything to, like regular practice, meditation? Do you have anything like that? You're thinking about it as my answer.
It's funny. I've kind of gotten off. I did that stuff, and I should be doing it more because I've actually noticed I've had some health problems of late.
Yeah.
Where it's just stress, and it's like, what, you need to go back to meditating and that kind of thing.
Maybe I'm your intervention.
Well, I could use that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you did have you did a meditative process, or?
I would just listen to the Daily Calm. Did you ever that app?
No.
There's this app called the Daily Calm, and it's a woman. I'm going to botch her name. She's got kind of an unusual name, but it would be, close your eyes and do breathing and all this
mindfulness training and awareness. Yeah,
absolutely. But she would always have a little, fable or a little bit of wisdom at the end.
Yeah,
that some of them really stuck with me. There was,
and it carries you through your day.
Yes, the one
it's like a grounding.
Was the jellyfish one. I don't know if you've heard this one, where there's some kind of storm and there's like 1 million jellyfish washed up on the beach. And a guy goes by and he's picking them up and one by one throwing them back in the ocean. And someone comes and is like, look, there's 1 million of them here. You're not going to make a difference. And he picks up one and throws it in the ocean and says, well, made a difference for that one. And I just love that because it's like, you know what? We can't help the whole world, but when you can do something for one person or whatever, then you are making a difference.
That is a very symbolic, wonderful story.
Yes, I love that. So
whether it's true or not, I mean, I always tell people it's, peace, begins with me.
Right.
And then that carries through the next person, and so forth. You can't that's what I have a problem with. This is why I'm off of the news now. It's like, okay, there's war here. There's also war over there, but they just have darker skin. We're not going to concentrate on them. They're going to go for the ones that look like us.
Yeah.
That's how they choose the news. They script it. They cast the good-looking girl that we follow. That's what they do. And then we obsess with them, and it's a deflection to be who we really are, to have that peace, to have that love, to have that mindfulness, to be able to throw one jellyfish back, to help one person.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so much into chaos and mayhem that we're completely not ourselves anymore.
Yes.
So that's why I was asking you, do you have a practice? Sounds like you're going to start one. Do you have a practice that kind of keeps you centered in that place where you'll take a jellyfish and put them back in the water?
I don't know. I guess it's just more of I try to be a to each his own kind of person. And I just try to deal with each person. But I don't think I haven't been meditating. I read and I go about my life. But
which is meditative, by the way. So is walking.
Yeah.
These are great practices.
Yeah, I can actually get in that problem of just too much, being too busy, too much information, and actually not having that reflective time. Whatever,
those reflective times are really important. I just had some really tough stuff going on. I got COVID.
Oh, geez.
And a bunch of stuff, deaths and things like that. And I just hit this wall where I went, man, you got to go back to the practice.
Yeah.
Because when you're not working on, shooting with your left, you're going to lose your left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you work these muscles, these, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, these loving muscles, that's what you're going to become, is you're going to become more loving and even more funny.
Yes.
Because when you're working yourself, you become yourself, and that's what you reveal on stage. You were saying that that's most of your material is, go with the news. That's what you give to Conan or whatever it is. But it's the personal stuff that you bring to the stage, right?
Yes.
Experiences.
You were, I don't know so I remember when I opened for you at Caroline's years ago, it was really one of the great moments of my life because I came home after the show Saturday. My son was a baby sleeping in our room, and he said, "Dada." He said his first words that weekend.
Wow!
And it was such a memorable.
It's so crazy.
And it was so crazy.
So random.
And they had because there was a 1 a.m. show we had to do. there was like, the shows were like 8, 10, and whatever.
Do 3 shows. It was crazy.
And I was dreading that 1 a.m. show because in Boston, when we had shows 8, 10, and midnight, the 8 and 10 could be fantastic. And then the midnight was a free-for-all.
Oh, free-for-all,
And you go home and it was like...
And the audience is like, they think that they're the act.
Absolutely. And there were near fistfights in the crowd and stuff like that.
Sure, especially Boston.
So, absolutely. So I'd go home like, you wish you could gotten the bad one out of the way first and then had the 2 good ones, but you'd leave on the bad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was dreading the 1 a.m. It was New York. They had gone out to dinner. They're all wearing suits and ties. You know what I mean? It was like they couldn't have been nice. I was like,
New York, their night starts at 10.
Absolutely. And I was like, oh, this was like, I was dreading the show all week, and it couldn't have been better. So then I went to bed at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And at 5 a.m. I heard my son say, and it was like, well, I heard that. You know what I mean? And it was such a moment I'll never forget. But I always associate you with that because I remember coming in the next.
And now he's 26.
Sunday. Yes, I know.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
I want to meet him. I'm going to say,
right.
you know what? I'm kind of like a manifester of Dada. Your first words. That's awesome. It's strange the memories you have of people, through that one's locked in. But of all of them, though, that's an odd one because it didn't even happen when we were working together.
Right. I mean, I saw you that night and told you about it, but it was just sort of like I associate you with that weekend. And
I hadn't had kids yet, so I couldn't really relate to it as much. Wow. Do you remember when you didn't have kids and single, or or even married, when people would do kid material? I was so I don't know. I remember this guy, Bill Keller. Do you remember him, Bill Keller?
Sure.
You do?
I do know, yeah.
And I remember he was clean and he did kid material. I'm going, what is this stuff with the kids? And that's all I can talk about now because it's what I know.
Right.
So I must have kids in my audience that's going, kids, who cares? I don't want kids. You can't relate to it.
Yes.
Do you remember that your single material and how different it is from today?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you're much more mature, obviously, with a different take. What do you think the biggest shift is that you've had as far as like your perspective on comedy, the type of material that you do? Have you ever had a big shift? Like, Carlin, remember when Carlin had the album that came out that was literally you watched the shift on the album?
Right.
You went from the straight...
I think it had AM, FM, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it said?
But it had like the straight guy in a tie.
Yes.
And it had the bearded hippie.
Yes.
You watched this transition that he made, this transformation that he made from the straight-laced guy to,
Absolutely.
the 7 dirty words. And so did you ever have anything like that? I know I've had a few times in my career where I can actually point to it and go, shift. That went a whole different directions that I'm happy with. Have you ever had that happen in your career where you went, even a job that you had where you were kind of like, you took it in a different direction?
I think I had a couple of shifts. I think early on I just wanted to get laughs. And then I think I realized, but pretty quickly I realized I wanted to do the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. So I just focused on that, and I would write clean, and I would eat it a lot of times in these bars where it's
especially Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I was just focused on that, and what I did accidentally was I carved a little niche for myself because Brian Regan or Seinfeld or Rita Rudner would come to town, and I was the only one that they'd go, we need someone cleaned open for them, so I would get the gig.
Wow, yeah.
So I ended up getting all this.
It's a smart move. You can always make it dirty. You can't unclean it.
Right, but it wasn't intentional. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was like, okay, I want to do this, and then it was sort of a byproduct of that sort of worked out to my benefit.
And it's a certain type of rhythm that you have to develop.
Yes, yeah.
I did the opposite. I said, I could write an act like that, but it wasn't my goal.
Right.
My goal was much more laughs and headlining and all that kind of stuff. Of
course, absolutely.
So you achieved your goal. Did you get on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson? If you don't know who Johnny Carson is, if you think Carson is Carson Daly, no. We actually had many comics. That was the Holy Grail.
Yes,
that was
really
it.
Was.
If he gave you the okay sign, if you went to the couch,
oh my God,
there was a whole process.
Yes.
It was so big, and it's never to be seen again.
Right. And there was nothing on at 11:30.
He was the only, anybody who tried to compete with him, done.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There was I think Alan Thicke tried, Merv Griffin tried, Joey Bishop tried. There was just no one that was going to compete with Johnny Carson. He was an icon, still is.
Yes.
So your goal was to be on the Tonight Show, and you have to write a certain way.
Yes, absolutely.
Set up punch and so on.
Spoiler alert: I didn't make it.
No.
I got on Jay about a year after Johnny left.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Was that like I guess that was disappointing. And when he retired, you're going, oh, I got to get on quick.
Yeah.
But they're using like Billy Crystal and people like that. There's no way I'm going to bump them.
Well, my friend Joe Yannetti, do you know him?
Yeah, of course.
So he got booked, supposed to do Carson.
Another Boston
and
guy.
then when Carson was wrapping up, all these big stars came back, and he just got pushed off, and he never got. And they never put him on yes.
You know what's funny? That's happening right now after COVID. All the stadium and big venue acts, they're booting us.
Yes.
So I'm a headliner at comedy clubs, and now it's like, no, we have Kevin Hart.
Right.
Like, what am I gonna do? I now like lower
That's
on
so
the.
interesting.
Yeah, people are asking me, when are you coming back to Dallas? Sorry. Wow. You know, you can go see a weigh-ins if you want, but you're not going to see me. Yeah, it's true. I mean, this is what's happened. Is there's a big bumping that's going on, but it'll clean out.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
they'll go back to stadiums when people are filling stadiums and
Yeah.
bigger arenas and venues and things like that. Did you ever tour with anyone?
No,
That's surprising.
I didn't.
I guess you were so busy writing for other shows.
Yeah, once I started
Conan.
got my job at Conan, then I really couldn't. I may go on the road 1 week a year then. At that point.
You just got the job when I worked with you.
Right,
at
right,
Caroline's.
yeah.
You were brand new there, so you weren't like a head writer.
No.
Then you became like the head writer, right? Like,
Well, I was the head monologue writer. I was,
Yeah.
yeah.
well, who was the head writer?
Well, we had different guys. There was a guy named Mike Sweeney.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
I remember
Funny
that.
stand-up.
Yeah.
Jonathan Groff was Matt O'Brien. So
they decide they're the final decision makers. How does that operate?
No. Conan is the final decision maker.
Oh, okay. Right.
It really
yeah.
is.
I
So-
got that. Yeah.
But it's actually it's a very difficult job because you're not writing for the most part. You have to make sure all the other departments are in charge. You have to cull through all the other writers' material to see what to present to Conan. You've got to deal with with the editors and the makeup people and all the different.
Why the makeup people?
Well, maybe not the makeup people, but you have to deal with.
If you're doing a bit.
Yes, and the costume people,
Right.
or the set designers, or what the set is, because you come up with a little idea. There was an idea I had where, remember when they outlawed straws?
Yeah.
So they outlawed straws in Illinois. So I came up with this bit where there's a guy. He's doing a pile of cocaine. The cops burst in. Oh, he's using a straw. Let's get him. And they put the cuffs on him. They leave the coke.
I
and
see
they
where
take him
that's
out.
going.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's funny. That's funny. That's
and
great.
they made it this elaborate set, like
Yeah.
the whole thing. It's like they designed this room. You know what I
All
mean?
for basically one joke.
All for one 10-second joke.
That's that. I love the joke though. That's great. So they've got like lights and sirens
but they've got the whole
set.
room. It's like a basement apartment that they built
Right.
and all this stuff. You know
That's
what I mean?
incredible.
So there's all this behind the scenes
Yeah.
stuff, and you have the casting people involved,
And you have to coordinate that.
Well, not me. That's what the head writer does. So
okay.
I just send
So they're a producer.
yes,
They're really a producer,
Yes,
and you're
they
more
really
of a
are.
writer.
Absolutely.
You hand them this, and you say, well, "We're going to need these following things." Or the prop department has to do this. Costumes have to do this. We got to get casting on this.
Absolutely.
Can you get a cop? Can you get it? And all
Right,
that.
exactly.
Did the writers play the parts?
Sometimes,
Many
yeah.
times.
Yes.
Like how many bits were you in through the years? Quite a few.
I was in a handful. He actually
Just a handful.
Well, he didn't like it when I was in a bit.
Oh.
Because he wanted me writing the monologue that day. So sometimes he'd be like, "What are you doing on the day?" You know what I mean? So they did.
That's
so I would be
crazy.
in it every once in a while. But there was a bit with Dion Cole. Do you know Dion?
Yeah, really funny
so
guy.
funny. So
isn't he on like Old Spice or something?
he's the Old Spice guy.
Yeah.
And he's on Blackish, and he's on these. He's
Really
in movies.
funny.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
funny and so charismatic. And
Yes.
so they did a bit where something would happen, and he'd go, Conan would have him go to comment on it, and he's like, "This is so too stereotypical for me to, so I'm going to bring out the whitest guy, and he's going to comment." So he would bring out me, and I would read his lines and do it for him. So we did that.
You're
bit
very
many times.
white,
Very white.
right?
Right.
So that's you were cast in that.
Yes.
We don't even have to go to a casting director on this one. We've got our whitey right here.
So I would.
This guy's alabaster.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I'd come in, and it's so funny because I didn't write those bits, And I would just go read the cue cards, and you go, "Oh, this is the easiest thing in the world."
Yeah.
I lost so much respect for newscasters. Where you go, "Well, anybody can do this." Are you kidding me? You know. But yeah, you can.
And Conan too. I was like, I can host this Conan show. You call it the Kylie show, for God's sakes. I wrote this crap. I could deliver it, and
we don't need to get this out there
with better feeling. I said it. You didn't say it. So yeah, reading cue cards, but you still have to have chops.
Well, you have to have
there's
the
so many
timing
people
and
that have tried.
Yes.
They just don't have the chops. He's a very bright man who's got the chops.
He's a brilliant guy.
What is he doing now that I still see him on Instagram all the time?
Well, he's got his podcast. And
is that what it is? That's a podcast.
Mm-hmm. And it's very successful. And he supposedly, he's in talks with HBO about some show. So I don't know what that's going to be or whatever. But
well, you'll be unemployed in August. Perfect.
Well, yeah, that
good timing.
Sound good to me. Believe me, I'd be happy to go back. So
yeah. So what are your aspirations as a stand-up? Do you now? So you had the Tonight Show as a goal. You made the Tonight Show. It was the Jay Leno Tonight Show.
Yes. So I did that 4 times.
Okay.
And then
what's it like though? The feeling of that achievement. When you walk off that stage, you just go, wow, man, that's exactly what I was expecting. Or do you think that's a little disappointing?
No, it was so interesting. You know how sometimes you're doing a show and, your 3rd grade teacher's in the front row or your neighbor or whatever.
Yeah, I move them, by the way. I really do.
But this is like everyone you know is there in the front row. Do you know what I mean? Because so many people in your life happened to see it or got word that you were on or whatever.
Yeah.
So many different parts, and it's probably different now just because we're in such a fractured society. But at the time, so many, I just heard from people I hadn't heard from in years, and that is the thing of everyone is in your head when you go out there. And actually, that was the first time my dad had ever gone to see me.
Well, you must have more security than I do, because I'm thinking the people in my head can't wait to see me bomb. And that's who will get in touch with me if I bomb.
Well, you have that whole thing. You have, it's old girlfriends. It's
that's right.
People, it's enemy, it's your old coach. It's that whole mix. It's the whole spectrum.
Before my debut when I co-hosted the Magic Hour, Magic Johnson show.
Sure.
But when I was behind the partition, they were about to unveil that I was the new co-host, or I was the co-host. And I literally had a list of all the 13 girls that shot me down for the prom. Wait till they see me now. And then they all watched me get fired in days. So much for that idea.
Well, for a few minutes it was.
For a few minutes when they said my name, but they did say my announcement was, here's a guy nobody would shower with, Craig Shoemaker. That was my intro. And even you're going, what the hell does that mean? Right. I'm in back of the thing going, maybe I won't come out to this unbelievable introduction. So, it's like a hit, it's like a drug hit.
Sure.
When you have these things, does it kind of go down a little bit each one? You did 4 of them. Is the 4th one as exciting as the first one? Is it more exciting? The dopamine hit, did you get it on each one? Or are they equal?
I did. The first one's the best.
Yeah, of course.
I did get that.
I was going to say virginity, but nobody's virginity when they break it is ever good. Mine was Ava Tamini, terrible.
So, no wonder no one showers with you. So, yes, that was always exciting. And then what would happen at Conan is a guest would cancel, and they'd be like, "Get out there." So I had to keep a suit in my office and have a set ready. And so
they canceled with that little notice?
It would be the day before or that, yes. It was either...
Don't they have a roster of comics that they have approved or pre-approved or no?
I don't know. I did it 12 times. And only
Conan.
Oh, geez. And only once did they give me a date. Say, you're going to be on, May 2nd. The rest of the time it was like, like they said, can you do the show tomorrow? And I'd say, well, I've only got like 2/3 of a set. And they go, you'll be the second guest, whatever. And I'd be writing stuff on the train that day. It was insane. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like having a cleaning lady. And once in a while, hey, I don't know. My wife's not giving me sex.
Yes.
Get in here.
Well, then, and
you feel a little used.
Yes.
But use me because you got extra money every time, right?
You do.
Because you get a set money along with your salary.
What do you mean?
You get your SAG scale
yes.
appearance fee along with what you're already making.
Yeah.
Yes. Do some of the comics who aren't doing that, The writers, do you think they get a little resentful or jealous?
I don't think so, because a lot of the sketch guys were on the show all the time doing bits.
They were.
Yeah, so they were on.
These are the writers.
Yeah, so they were.
Laurie, excuse me, Laurie Kilmartin was one of them.
Yes.
She probably did it a number of times too.
She would be. Yeah, she'd be in. I mean, her and
was she a pinch hitter as well?
No, because by the time the TBS show happened, we were out here, and that didn't. It happened in New York.
Oh, this is New York.
This was in New York.
Well, why would it not happen here?
Because for whatever reason, they could always find somebody else.
Oh,
I think there's more people out here, or whatever.
More comics, more available comics.
Absolutely, and
interesting. I would think New York would have more.
Well, I wasn't always filling in for a comic in New York, because sometimes it would be the second guest would be some actor or something whose flight got canceled or something like that. And
get out there and do a set.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, you're like a court jester. Amuse me, comedy boy.
And then for a while there, what happened was I got on Letterman as a fluke because Dave got sick. So Bruce Willis was supposed to be the first guest. So they had to have Bruce Willis host. And Eddie Brill called me at 1 PM.
No.
I didn't even know I was in the running, because what happened was I had auditioned for them a bunch of times. The first time I did it, I auditioned, I was 25, and the producer came and told me I was very good. And then when I got the call to do the show, it was 17 years later. So I had no idea I was in the running. He called me and goes, "This is a weird question. Can you do the show today?" And I was at Conan, so I was, a few blocks away.
Yeah, but you have to ask for permission.
Yeah.
Because you have to leave your job.
Yes. And Conan was fine with it.
Sure, he better be.
Yeah. And I always had my suit in my office, so I just put my suit on and walked over there.
Unbelievable.
And did the show. So then after that, then they would put me on often when they didn't have,
Letterman did. So you did it a number of times.
I did it 7 times. Yeah.
7 times.
But only once did I get a date from them. And it wasn't until I moved to LA that they had to actually give me a date, because I couldn't fill in at the last minute.
Wow. How do you have, man, that's prolific writing right there. I mean, that's just, but I think it's like, I guess you could compare it to athletes. Like, maybe like I'm a great rebounder and you're not so good at it, but you can shoot a 3.
Yeah. Well,
they bring you in to shoot a 3. It's a skill set.
Absolutely. And I know for you, if they said, "Hey, go out and headline this club and go do an hour," you wouldn't break a sweat.
Yeah,
do that. Do you know what I mean? Where for me, I'd be like, "Oh, that's so many jokes for me." Do you know what I mean? That's like 180 jokes. Do you know what I mean? But to go out and do a 5-minute set that I've been working on, it's clean. You know what I mean? It's almost like I've trained as a sprinter as opposed to a marathon.
I use that comparison all the time. I tell people, how come you're not doing this show? I go, because I'm a marathoner. I'm not a sprinter.
Right.
It doesn't make me a bad runner.
No.
I'm I'm Frank Shorter or whatever.
Yes.
And
I'm very jealous of the marathon runners.
And we're jealous of you.
So funny.
It's true though. And there are very few that can do both.
Yes.
Think about it. Yes. And I actually think that people casting, I guess Letterman had final decision, all that. Letterman doesn't like marathoners.
Right.
No.
Right.
No, out. Callbacks. No. I'm the king of callbacks. People like that, they do not like it. I remember when Jim McCauley.
Sure.
He would cast the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. You had to appeal to him, and he knew what Johnny liked.
Right.
And you had to appeal to what Johnny liked, and you have to get that. And he likes sprinters.
Yes. Yeah.
All of them except maybe. Jimmy Fallon, I would think, doesn't. I don't think he necessarily looks for that type, because he's not that type.
Sure.
In New York at Caroline's, by the way, I headlined there and used to draw pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, you got standing ovations that weekend. I worked with you. It was amazing.
Still getting them.
So great.
Because I'm a marathoner.
So great.
People stand for the marathoner. The sprinter, they're going, well, where is he?
He's gone already.
He's already gone. He's in the locker room and I have no time to stand. But I developed an act like a play.
Yes.
Like a play. You're not happy with a 5-minute play.
Right. Absolutely.
I want them to go, I'm going to give you an experience. So Fallon's manager comes up, and Jimmy was real shy in the background. They said, do you mind if we use your audience? People would always use my audiences.
What do you mean?
So like Chris Rock for the Oscars used my audience at the Comedy Magic Club, Gary Shandling for Emmys. They would rehearse their stuff in front of my adult audiences that were packed.
Oh, that's amazing.
Smart move on their part.
Wow.
I draw really, really cool adult people that are smart, and it's perfect for them. And it's the right, anyway, whatever. They're great audiences. And Jimmy Fallon knew this. And his manager came up and she said, my client, Jimmy, and he said, oh, yeah, how you doing? And I like your work, all that kind of stuff. And he's really shy, cool kid. And I said, she says that Saturday Night Live is here to see him. And would you mind? And I actually don't like guest sets.
I don't like guest sets either, but I
don't like
agree.
them. It's like, look, I have got my show. I got it planned. People think I'm an asshole, but it's just, that's my thing. Sure. You want to go draw? You go draw, and I won't ask you to be on your show either. It's kind of weird. It's like, you go to do, The King and I. You're going to take that dance scene out because we have a better dancer that's going to stop in here. It doesn't make any sense to me. So whatever, that's how the game works. But this time, selfishly, between us and who's ever watching, I said, yes, no problem. Because I thought to myself, if the Saturday Night Live crew sees me, they're going to book me, the guy with the standing ovation, not this kid, right? I actually said that to myself. So he goes on, he killed. He brought his guitar and he killed. And I walked on stage and I'm going, oh my God, I can't wait till this. All 11 seats were empty. They went into the other room and they signed them in the other room.
Yep.
I've never seen them again.
I knew they were never going to stay. I knew that.
Oh, you did know that?
I know.
You knew that was the end of the story?
They never stay.
They don't stay.
They don't stay.
We're here for the one person we're here to see.
Yes.
You're not in our sights.
And even if the person bombs, they'll get up and leave.
Up and leave. They're not going to go, I hope the next guy's good. Nope.
No.
11 seats empty, and that was it. He signed in the other room. And I've never done that show, by the way. Wouldn't you think that he would, hey, man, here's a guy.
Yes.
I mean, you would put me on a show just because your baby said Dada the night we worked.
This guy is a big part of my life. Get him out here. Absolutely.
I can't wait to meet your older son now.
But, the other thing about guest sets is they step on your stuff. If you, it's like, what? He did an Uber joke, and now my Uber joke's not going to do as well, or whatever. I had to close a show recently where there were like 10 people in front of me. And one by one, I'm checking off jokes, and I'm like, oh, I can't do that one now. I can't.
Brian, same thing.
And even though the joke is different, just that the subject has been broached, it ruins it. They
don't understand. And if you ask them not to do it, they act like you're a jackass.
I know.
I'm going, no, this is my show. You got to respect my show. Can you not do that? I have somebody opens for me, has one, like I have a hunk about, this white thing and everything. But it's just one thing that's really close, but it ruins all the rhythm of the joke. So now the whole thing has to come on, and they never understand it. I had a guy in San Diego recently. He said, what are you getting all up? And they're here to see you. They love you. He's like explaining that he's keeping the same. This was like the same stuff.
Right.
This was more than crushing a premise. This was like almost direct.
Oh my God. Okay.
And I'm going, hey man, he said, what's wrong with you? He's sort of getting mad at me. He was the club owner too. He's like, no, you don't understand. You're like taking a piece of, now I have to put something else that fits in there. And it's just, why do it? That's the whole thing, is you come up with something that has nothing to do with what I'm doing.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're writing a script, you can't have someone else come and rewrite one scene, unless you're Tarantino.
No, it's
He
true.
used to do that, actually.
That's true. No, and also sometimes you get someone who comes in and they piss off the crowd. And it's like,
that too.
Oh, thanks for stopping by, ruining the show.
Or they ruin it with Fs.
Yes, absolutely.
That'll do it too.
That'll do it. Absolutely.
I had one time I was on my way to a gig, and it was a little nerve wracking because I don't like the shows that, I'm not headlining, and quite to be honest with you, I don't like showcase shows. It's hard for me.
Sure.
Because you do have to watch the people ahead of you, and I don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
And you go, oh my God, that needs to get, now you're trying to rearrange stuff.
And also what you plan now, you can't do what you plan.
Can't do exactly right. And it's a set time.
Yes.
You can't go over the time. It's not like your show.
Yeah.
So I was like in the middle of this show, big supernova, that supernova.
Yeah.
It's like a big deal. And it's like, during COVID, that was where you went. It was outdoors and all this. And I had this brand new joke. It was so funny. I would go, oh, they'll like this, because they're a younger audience. Oh, they'll like this. And it was something that really happened. Someone kept texting me. And it was pissing me off. And I'm like texting about, I'm driving. And he said, where are you? We're supposed to be golfing. I'm driving. I'll be right there. And then I said, with my thumbs being big, the L is next to the K. I said, I'll tell you what, when I get there, I'm going to lick your ass. So I was going to say that joke. In the beginning, the kids these days love a licking ass joke.
Absolutely.
I swear to God this is true. 4 comedians all did licking ass jokes before. Thank God I watched them.
Oh my
I would have been the 5th in a row that they do.
God.
But the kids today, I sound like a Jack Carter. These kids today, they do like fully on licking ass. There's like, I had my ass licked. I was like, kick your ass, lick your ass. I was, the old school, cleaner version. But I could not believe it. You talk about a premise being burnt. That was just a bonfire of that premise. I took that joke out, put some other ones in there.
Sure.
Do you ever have that happen when you play younger crowds? You know, we're around the same age, been at the same amount of time. Do you ever say to yourself, man, these kids aren't going to get what I'm saying? And do you run it by your kids? And
yes, I mean, there's definitely. It also depends on how long I'm doing, because it's like, okay, you know what? I don't need to do my kid material or whatever.
Yeah.
If they're, but yeah, there's definitely, and I have a joke about, I looked on my front porch a couple weeks ago and I spotted a coyote, and it was kind of my fault because I'd ordered a package from Acme. So
the producer just got it too. That is one of those delay jokes.
But it's
comedian got it in a half a second. It took him 3.
But it's also,
you got to wait for that laugh.
If they're too young.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. And I'll do that joke. And it's funny. I'll even say sometimes, I go, you have to be a certain age to get that joke, because the older people my age like it. But younger people often don't get the reference. That's so funny.
Now, we couldn't do that on the same show, because I have a joke about when I was a kid, I used to think that tampons, I grew up with all females, were sticks of dynamite. I said, because that's what the coyote used. The string was the fuse. That's so funny. I really thought, and I would put my ear to the door. I thought that's how they got rid of them, whatever they were for. I was going to hear like that big explosion. And I had my ear to the door and go, another dud. Mommy's got to get new tampons. So anyway, I used the coyote, but our references.
Yes.
Are just, they're outdated. This is why I feel bad. This is why I feel like it's hard to keep up with that, because I don't have interest. Right. In a lot of their music.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
The band, they don't have bands. Like, remember we had bands that were like, you could say, oh, he's a guy from Buffalo Springfield. He moved over to, we knew like drummers and they don't even have that.
No, there's so much stuff. And I will run by some jokes to my kids sometimes. If I'm like, are you guys, do you know about this or whatever? Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I've been writing dad jokes lately. I'm just like leaning into it now.
That's okay. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just wrote a couple today. What is the one I wrote? Oh, damn it! Now I have to. My phone's out there. I wrote them on my phone. One is, what kind of lottery tickets does a dad with jock itch buy?
A scratch ticket?
Yeah, scratchers.
Right. But that's
at least I didn't say Powerball.
All right, I love it.
But I'm starting to write them because I'm like leaning into. If you're gonna think, you already think. I had a guy yell at boomer. Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's like
like a slur.
That's the worst thing you can.
Oh yeah.
Why can't I be sensitive to that now and say you better say boomer? You better put an A on it. The hard R boomer.
In Boston
that hurts.
They do. So
yeah, boomer. Yeah, I mean. My son just rips on me all the time. He rips on my Instagram posts.
Oh yeah.
Yours?
Oh my God, yeah. My daughter's like, "What are you doing?" Yeah.
He tell you how to do it. Here's my son's line. You wonder why you don't have followers?
I think you have a lot of followers.
No, not that many. Not on Instagram.
All right.
No, Facebook, I've got a bunch on the fan page, but even that's like dying down. It's hard to keep up.
Oh my God.
Because I can't. The other thing is, so you have joke forums that you use for Tonight Show, for these talk shows.
Yes.
It's a certain skill set.
Yes.
We don't have a skill set for TikTok.
Yeah, I'm not,
Have you done a TikTok video?
And I'm afraid to keep jumping to the next thing. Like
right.
I tweet a joke every day.
You do?
I do.
I'm gonna have to. I do follow you. Okay. It doesn't come up on my feed though.
Yeah. So
I don't even know how that works.
I just do that once, and I post a picture on Instagram maybe once a week or something. But
isn't it sad though?
Yes.
Like how many people like it, and that's what our lives are predicated upon. How many likes we get.
The worst.
You write the best joke and it gets 2 likes. You go, really?
And I get in this thing.
Out of 35,000 people, 2 people like this?
Well, sometimes I'll have a joke kill on Twitter, and then I do it on stage. I'm so excited. Nothing.
Wow.
And you go, oh. You want to go, people on Twitter really like, but it's a different form. It's a different medium.
But they love my daughter's jokes.
Do they really?
My daughter told a joke, and I put it on. Actually, Rosie O'Donnell retweeted it.
Really?
My daughter's really smart, like funny.
How old is she?
She's a songwriter, a comedian. She just turned 8.
Wow.
It is unbelievable. Like born with it.
Incredible.
Really funny. One time I said to her, I go, who are you? She's 3.5 at the time. She goes, I'm Craig Shoemaker. She's on the couch. I go, what do you do? I'm a comedian. What does a comedian do? Make people laugh. I go, well, that's what you do during the night. What do you do during the day? And she goes, I scratch my balls. Speaking of scratchers.
That's so funny.
But she had a joke that Rosie retweeted. Why isn't, I can't remember her own joke. It's, I know. Why isn't Donald Trump invited to the White House? It's the day after the election because it's for Biden.
Oh, nice. That's so clever.
I know. And
Wow.
she told the joke in a video and I put it up. It still didn't go way viral. I don't know. Nobody follows me, but there's some algorithm. I don't even understand it.
But that's so clever.
I know, but Rosie liked and everything. But then it just. Whoosh,
oh yeah, it's gone.
It's just gone.
It's just gone.
That's what we live in now. Nothing's registering. Nothing's planting. A seed is not planted. There's no foundation for anything.
Yes.
And everything. That's why current event stuff is just.
Something
fleeting.
Yes, that's really something I grapple with because I'd like to have something that actually has a little staying power.
Yeah.
Like I love sitcoms. I'll watch an I Love Lucy or a Dick Van Dyke show. You know, I'll watch.
Yeah. Did you see Meet the Ricardos, by the way?
I did.
I loved it.
Good. Yeah.
You didn't?
I didn't know. I enjoyed it.
You must have loved the writers' room.
I do. I love the writers' room, and I love Sorkin. I always enjoy Aaron Sorkin.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Yes,
one of the most brilliant.
Absolutely.
You can recognize his writing, like Mamet.
Yes.
Sorkin, you can really, really get the depth, and he has so much knowledge in this business, and that's the one like inside stuff that I really like. My wife watched it last night. I started to watch with her. I'd seen it already, and I had to go to a comedy show, but I said, "Are you enjoying this?" She grew up in Japan.
Oh, that's
so yeah, it's interesting to get that perspective on what they, they find funny and what they were raised with. They're not raised with the same cadences even that we are.
Right.
And we were raised basically. A lot of it is Catskill oriented. It comes Borscht Belt oriented, vaudeville oriented, and that becomes part of the rhythm.
Even Bugs Bunny, the way he was talking,
exactly.
That his rhythm.
Yeah. It's all everything was like
true.
It was that kind of rhythm. And when you're not brought up with that, it's foreign to you. So I was watching her not laugh at parts. I thought Fred Mertz and that was so. Actors? So,
J.K. Simmons
he's
is so good.
Amazing,
He's
and I loved him in that. But I thought she was brilliant. I thought they were all. I really liked the movie. I thought it was very underrated. But those writers' rooms, which you've been in for decades, I was in one, and I did not like it.
I love it. What writers' room were you in?
But it was different because there were no stand-up comedians. Matter of fact, they resented me because I was the only stand-up.
Interesting.
They had a deal with me that I could go do stand-up and still like miss work. Mm-hmm. So I'd come back with a tan. And they would go, where were you? I was in Hawaii. It was awesome. Where were you? Oh, we were in this room for 10 hours a day. They did not like me very much. Some of them did.
Sure.
Then nobody came to my show. They saw how good I am at the craft.
So great.
But in the room, oh, man, in a sitcom room, it is vicious. Wow. Now, I wonder if this is the case with a show like Conan. They're auditioning for the next season. Like they want to get this job again. So basically it becomes like a dog-eat-dog, like trying to impress, and which includes trying to take you down because I'm going to get the job.
Right.
Like it's Lord of the Rings kind of stuff.
Yeah, we didn't.
You didn't have that?
We didn't have that. I know
ever.
I've heard no, because I do think they would do a good job of vetting people before they hired them. Mm-hmm. I don't think they like to fire. They don't like to fire people. It would be unusual when they did.
Wow. So people last for years.
Yes. And I think they wanted you to succeed. And
did you bring anyone out from New York? To do the LA version of Conan?
It's kind of funny because they were when Conan got the Tonight Show, so we were going to have a bigger staff and a bigger,
budget. Yeah.
We were going to have more monologue writers.
Sure.
I asked some friends of mine, but then there were some people where there's this one guy in New York who I had done a show with, just like in a basement show where you go and you're doing your 5 minutes of new stuff that you kind of don't, that's all, you've got your notebook and it's, it's not polished. You just kind of, and I saw this guy and he had funny jokes and I'd never saw him before. And I called up the guy who booked the show. I said, what's the name of that guy who did that joke about whatever? And he goes, oh, that was Josh Comers. So he got me in touch with him. I said, why don't you submit to the
Yeah.
And he got hired.
Wow.
And I didn't even know him. I don't think I had spoken to him before, but his jokes stood out, you know.
Interesting.
And
One joke.
One or two jokes, but they were so strong. I was like, this guy's
It's amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean,
but I guess it's a different type of writer's room. I was in a sitcom, Fuller House. And that's what I found was it was really like you could look around the room and they would. The other thing is, this has ever happened. I'm curious about these writers' rooms. Gordon, our producer, wants me to do something called Inside the Actor's Studio with comics. Like really get down to this stuff. That's one of the reasons I had you on today. I said, Gordon, you want to see somebody on the inside? This guy's been on the inside for decades at a high level of success. Do you have the people in the rooms that are not supportive of one another, that there is a competition? Does that ever happen?
It does happen sometimes, but that person kills the room.
That's what I mean.
Yes,
it's an energy killer.
Yes.
And I would tell a joke, and somehow it didn't, you're pitching and pitching, and it's up on the screen, or somebody like a writer's assistant's writing it up on the screen. And then someone would tell the same joke literally 2 minutes later, and that would land.
Yes.
And someone told me, don't do that, because what I did was I go, I just told a joke 2 minutes ago.
Right.
They told me, shut up, because I was a new writer. Like, don't say that. You don't need credit. So does that kind of thing happen? Does the same joke get told and was said minutes? It does.
Oh yeah.
So interesting.
And one thing would happen to us with when I was working with Laurie and the monologue writers would meet, and 3 or 4 of us would have every day. 2 of us would have the same joke, or 3 of us would have the joke. Oh, sometimes 4 of us. Yeah, because there's because there's certain situations where, remember, like someone's caught running across the White House lawn. It was always, it's Hillary trying to get in, or it's Melania trying to get out, or whatever. There's only a couple ways to go with that. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So we're all swimming with the same premises.
You're working with the same premises.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to come up with the same things sometimes.
That's what you come up with first. It's like, here's what's high. This is high level news right now. These are the 10 things they're talking about. Now, boom. Now, where are the jokes? Are you pitching on the spot, or do you go let them go into their office and they're writing the jokes?
We're usually in our office writing, then we
individually, bring them.
Yes.
And because it's distracting to me when you're in this competitive, because I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
And it's not improvisational. It's not yes and. It's yes, fuck you.
Yes. But I mean, when Laurie and I would brainstorm or whatever, we're not competing with each other. You know what I mean?
So you brainstorm with Laurie Kilmartin a lot.
Yes.
Interesting.
And the other, but I felt with the other monologue writers, Josh Comers and Rob Kuttner or whatever, we weren't competing. You
just bonded with her the most.
Well,
she's more your voice. How did that work?
Just because we're both stand-ups, I think that
the other ones aren't.
The other ones, for the most part, weren't.
Really?
Yeah, so I think that made a big difference in terms.
Sure
of that
does,
stuff,
and you get to kind of play this stuff out. The beats, the rhythms.
Yes.
The audience reaction.
Yes.
That's why I so believe in stand-ups. I really do. I think we're the
Well,
this is not bragging. We're the greatest creators there are. No, seriously, we don't need makeup. We don't need CGI. We don't. It's raw. It's us. It's truly connected.
And I think that there's a resilience that you have to build
that's a big one. I didn't even think about that one.
Yes, because I've seen it with other writers that when the host doesn't like their things and they're crying in their office, I'm like, you're crying?
Try bombing in front of 1,000 people.
Believe me, whatever you're self-conscious about, people have yelled at me a million times. You know what I mean? So it's like...
We're kind of like the Navy SEALs of the armed forces. Yes. And the other writers, Coast Guard. You've had you had a little hole in the boat and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a little tough. Nobody has been shot out like we have.
And because it's when you bomb, it's public humiliation.
It is. There's nothing like it's like being in a stockade.
Absolutely. And there are people that would do that once and go, I'm never doing that again. It's like, that's going to happen again.
Number one fear is public speaking. Imagine adding.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
You must get a laugh out of it.
Absolutely.
You could bomb as a public speaker and not be talking about trying to get laughs.
Yes.
That's fine because you don't even know what the reaction is. They could be loving it and you have no idea unless they applaud.
Yes.
But here you must get laughter because it propels the next joke.
Absolutely. And the things people will yell, or whatever. And sometimes you're doing a show where, especially starting out, they don't even know there's supposed to be a show. they have a show at a restaurant and the people came to eat.
Oh.
They're like, we didn't come for a show. Why are we, like those kind of situations.
Those are the worst.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're interrupting them.
Oh yeah. Or somebody books for the Christmas party and the people don't want to. They're enjoying the Christmas party. They don't want a comedian.
Or how about you're at an auction, like a silent auction, like a football, all these Hall of Fame football players, they want to hang out and get their autograph, and you're going, whoa, pay attention to me, who you've never heard of before. Wow. These celebrity golf outings and stuff like that.
Oh my God.
They do not want to hear from us.
Yeah.
And that's what's really sad to me too, is I think we should put comedy at the top of the list. And we are the court jesters. We are the most disrespected. And I don't believe this should be true. One of my goals of having this show is to tell people, or not tell people, that show people or invite people into this new space, this new world of possibility of what comedians can do for you. We really are of service to you. We break you free of nerves. We break you free of anxiety. We take you to a space where you're not thinking about something that's going on in your life that's tragic or suffering. We take you out of that.
Yeah.
We have the world of distraction out there. We are taking you into a wonderful world of distraction, into yourself and into your true self, where you are exploding with laughter and joy and happiness. But we're the last people on the rung.
It's true.
We're the ones they censor.
That's true. Even with even when you look at the Oscars or whatever, it's rarely a comedic actor or
there's no comedy category.
There's no comedy category.
I've been barking about this for years.
Yes, and it's like and you can see great actors who can't do comedy and you go,
no,
it's you know what I mean? And they're amazing, but it's like they don't have that thing,
And they're so full of themselves. I was always protective of Hollywood, and now I'm kind of out. I really am. I'm out. I understand why people think they're snobs and erudite, and I now I get it, because they really. That's the one thing that really irks me, is like, you couldn't take a moment to go, wait a minute, we don't need sound editing. We need. What person made all this money for us, this comedy that made all this money, but the only thing we're going to relegate them to, these court jesters, these mirth monkeys, is let them present.
Yes, and
do a little funny thing. Yeah,
and they don't have the regard for them that they should.
Comedians need more regard. I don't understand how it happened, but I do think that some of it has to do with this patriarchal corporate society that doesn't want our voice out there, because our voices are original and genuine and authentic, and have people think in a different way than they're telling them to think.
And they're irreverent. We're irreverent, which they don't.
But here's what happened, though. That corporate structure, that system that we're under, which the news is all sponsored by people that keep you in fear and all that kind of stuff, that's what they do. Now Hollywood's doing it. Think about it. Think about the Hollywood films, the ones that are nominated. It's always about something that people don't even relate to this. They're not going to watch. They're not going to watch if you continue to go down this path. If you don't make them laugh and feel good, and you think it's just about your serious issues, and what they don't even know about it most of the time. They just had I just heard they have a Western that's like the most popular movie right now. And it was directed by, somebody that's never, lived in the West, knows nothing about the West. You know what I mean? It was in New Zealand. It was supposed to be Montana. You know what I mean? She did the piano, Jane Campion. I was like, well, what do you know about these cowboys? These are cowboys.
Right.
So it's disingenuous.
Well, that was a movie that I didn't understand until,
I never saw it.
My neighbor had to explain it to me like a week later, and I was like, oh, how was I supposed to get that? You know what I mean?
What, was it
well, just with this,
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
What's it called? Something to the Dog or something?
Is it The Power of the Dog?
Power of the Dog. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's supposed to be nominated.
It was
or
over
win.
my head, so I don't know what to
Over
tell you.
your head, a bright man over your head. And maybe it's so frustrating to see. I remember one time in the Oscars, I told you Chris Rock used my audience to rehearse his Oscars. And he was the host. He was a wonderful host. And of course, they didn't like it. It was because they all want to be serious. And he said, what do Jude Law? What did Jude Law do? He did something like that. And then, of course, the most important man on the planet, Sean Penn, comes out and goes, Jude Law is a fine actor. Not like you, comedy boy. Just like dressed him down because he was trying to have fun. Yeah. Which is what we should do. This Oscar is not going to change the world, okay? And you thanking your agent. No one in the world. All they're doing is auditioning for the next part. They're kissing the ass of a publicist or a producer or whatever it is. That's why they put them on the list.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I did when I won the Oscars of comedy, the Comedian of the Year? You know what I did? I said, literally people asked me to thank them. Make sure you thank me.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're manager, agent. Oh, of course.
Really?
They had nothing to do with anything. They're not writing your jokes. They're not out. Are they out in Ohio? With an audience begging people to go on radio shows with people pressing buttons and everything. No, they're not out there. They're not in the trenches. They know nothing. Right. They receive calls, don't even make a call. Make sure you thank me. I went on stage. I got them. I go, hello. Oh, thank you for this. This is wonderful. I said, there's a lot of people that are asking me to thank them for my career. I'd like to thank the people that I'd like to help me with my career. So I said, I'd like to thank in advance Steven Spielberg, Marty Scorsese. I made this list of people. Funny. And the manager is like not happy because I didn't say his name. And I think that was the last time he managed me.
I can't believe so.
Of course they do.
Thank me. God.
That's because they're about, just like the writer's room, like I said, they're about the next job. They're auditioning for the next job. We don't live in a very solid world. Hollywood is such not a solid. The same people that they're touting to be the biggest star in the world, 5 years later, they could even win an Oscar. They can't even get past the velvet rope. Yeah. That's how it is. It's a popularity contest. They're all in this big circle jerk, and the comedians are not. We're too cynical to be in that. We know too much to be in that circle. We know how fraudulent it is.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why this year I left the left. I love the left because of the empathy, but I can't take the hypocrisy. Yeah. I can't take it the non-thinking, the getting in line, just like everybody else. What I always thought was just the right. So I'm in a centered area.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I can accept.
You look very judgmental of me right now.
No. I hope I'm not. No. I don't think I am. No. I totally see what you're saying. I don't.
Yeah. Do you find yourself on one side or the other?
Yeah. I'm still on the left, but I do get frustrated, and it's hard to be hopeful a lot of times.
Yeah, especially the cynical left. They're very cynical, very attacking.
Yeah,
like you want to get rid of Donald Trump. Stop talking about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That's the idiocy that goes on.
Well, that's the thing is
they're his best promoters.
Yes, he wants you to talk about him all.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And he doesn't care if it's negative. No, because he's going to say that you're a pompous ass, and the people that are following are going to follow him.
Right.
So. That's the whole thing. Is when he got elected, I went, oh no, you the media got him elected. You covered every one of his rallies. You focused on everything you said during the debates. He would say things purposely, calling him little Ted or whatever it was, or little Marco and all that kind of stuff. They loved it, and they ate it up, and that's what they put out. That's what they put out. They didn't put out somebody with a great policy.
Yes. Well, I'm much more interested in history than I am politics.
Me too.
I'd much rather
learn from history.
Yes, I'd much rather read a book about FDR or something than read about what's going on. I don't know.
I do know.
I like having that distance on things, and
I agree. I agree. FDR is a great example. Yeah. I mean, but digging deeper though, which who does that is Oliver Stone. I really admire him. I don't know if you followed him, but he does a whole other version of history, which I love.
Yes, yeah.
He really does a deep dive on how things happen. We don't just. He doesn't mindlessly accept what happened in 1979 in Iran, with the Shah. No, he's going to dig down deeper and go, no, the CIA put him there, there's puppets and all that kind of stuff. Sure. It's like we mindlessly just accept what they tell us, and I like to go dig deeper into history and learn from it, like Gulf of Tonkin didn't exist.
Right.
It was a lie. So we went to Vietnam, killed hundreds of thousands of people. So then when Iraq came, I'm going, hey, I'm a little suspicious here. Hey, you're a treasonous.
Yes.
Yeah, and so one side or the other, whenever we deify or empower people, a person, an institution, we're in trouble. Yeah. When we're not listening to our heart. We're not listening to the comedians.
Well, because
we're true voices.
And we've been lied to so many times.
Exactly. And comedians don't lie. That's what's really cool. That's why we're proud of this business, right? Hey, man, that time zipped by. Sorry you're going to go back right in the middle of rush. I hate to tell you how long this was. It was longer than one of my sets.
Really? That went by so fast.
Yes, it did. And now I do have a gift for you. Your vitamins over here. Hyest vitamins. These are awesome. Maybe you can do the read on this. Read some of the details on what these vitamins do. These are different vitamins.
All right. This says it strengthens the immune system,
which is huge. Yes.
Cell detoxification.
We got to detoxify. We have toxins inside of us that we eat every day. Our food has toxins in them.
It enhances cellular hydration.
There it is.
And it's a powerful antioxidant.
So those are
thank
the
you
things
for
we
this.
need in a vitamin. Those are all in that bottle. And
you.
you or anyone can go to Hyest Vitamins. That's Hyest vitamins.com. The promo code is Laughter Heals. You get a 20% discount. You, of course, to get those for free for driving all this way from Studio City. 15% goes to Laughter Heals. We really do believe in the powers of laughter, trying to raise the awareness of these powers that we have possessed. Inside of every one of us is joy and happiness and light and levity. I encourage everyone to go down to that deep spot, go past the darkness and go into that light.
There's nothing like laughing.
Isn't there?
I've been,
Right?
we're so lucky
That we're in this business
yes,
still.
absolutely. And I laugh so much every day, and it's so great.
Comedians live a long time, by the way, the ones that don't,
Yes.
kill themselves and
Yes.
stuff like that. But think about it, Shecky Green and
George Burns,
Mel Brooks, George Burns, 100,
oh my God,
Bob Hope, Milton Berle,
Bob Newhart,
Don Rickles,
Yes.
Phyllis Diller, these people, Joan Rivers would have been living if she didn't have so much surgery. You know what I mean? Like, it's amazing to me when you're around that resonant power of laughter, what it can do to you. And that's what I want to ask everyone in the audience. I want to invite you to just take a step back and go, wait a minute. Yeah, there's a lot of tomfoolery going on here. Look at history and look at the history even of comedy, of how out of the Depression, how comedy saved us. And that's what can happen now if you make that choice. Turn away from the news. It's dark, it's dire, it's fear-filled. That's how they get you. And that's been a historical thing as well. Yeah. It's the same type of propaganda. It's like, kill this, so you pay attention to this. Kill the creators is always the first step they take. All dictators do it. They're doing it now. And I don't think we should participate in that by canceling comedians, being too sensitive on stuff. Move on to the next joke. That's what I encourage you to do. And
I'm with you.
I want to say one more thing, Brian Kiley. How can we find you, by the way?
Well, I'm on Twitter at Kiley Noodles.
Kylie Noodles.
And Instagram, just Brian Kiley Comic.
Oh, look at you. You got that. Okay. Well, there are not a lot of Brian Kiley comics out there, but I'm glad you got that. I'm sure under the advisement of your children, I'm sure they tell you how to do it.
They do.
So anyway, such a pleasure having you. I know our producer, he already wrote on the screen how much he liked that. Oh, we have also another gift for you, a candle.
God. Well, thank you.
These are called Ethan Cole. This one's white tea. If you smell, I want you to smell it live on the air.
Okay.
And on the air. That's how we talk still. But, hey, you go over to the TV and, press, hit the TV a few times because it's. Oh, look at this! He's smelling it. How good does that smell?
Oh my God!
It's all natural. He uses coconut wax. It's not the old school. And there's a wood wick for the a fireplace feeling. It has a fireplace sound to it.
If you smelled like this, people would shower with you.
This is a class in comedy, folks, that you listen to. That's called a callback. Brian Kiley, you go to ethancole.com if you want to get some more of those. Those are great gifts, by the way. Women go nuts for these. And a few men, too. I'm not being sexist, but I saw how much you liked it. Ethan Cole, that's with a Y and a K. So I hope you had a great time today. And I was educated today. This is awesome. A little history of comedy, a little how it's done, and had some fun today. Just remember one thing that I always want you to think of, everyone. Enlighten the fuck up, will you? I'll see you next time.